The ship landed with a low hum on the surface of a silent world. Dust rose slowly into the thin air and drifted away without hurry. This planet had no rivers, no trees, and no sound of life. It was a place of stone and ruins, a land that once belonged to someone but now seemed to belong to no one. The crew of explorers stepped out, their boots pressing into the soft ground. They were a small team of humans who had traveled far across space to study new worlds. Each member looked around with wide eyes. The city before them was unlike anything they had seen. Tall stone towers leaned in strange angles. Roads stretched out like frozen rivers, broken and empty. There was silence so deep that even their own breathing seemed loud. In the center of the ruins stood something that caught every eye. A tall figure made of pure gold rose higher than any of the fallen towers. It was carved in the shape of a being they could not fully understand. Its head was tall and narrow. Its arms stretched wide as if reaching to the sky. Though the city around it had crumbled long ago, the golden figure shone brightly under the weak sun. Myra, the leader of the group, walked forward with careful steps. Her voice came through the radio in a calm tone. This must have been important to the people who lived here. Look at how the city is built around it. The idol stands in the heart, like a sun in the middle of an orbit. Ryan, who was younger and full of restless curiosity, moved closer and tilted his head back to see the top. It looks alive in some way. Like it is watching us. The others laughed lightly at his words, but the sound did not last. The golden idol had a presence that made laughter fade quickly. Its surface caught the sunlight and reflected it in long beams across the broken stones. For a moment, it almost seemed to glow on its own. The team began to explore the plaza where the idol stood. They found carvings on the base, lines, and symbols they could not read. The marks were worn but still sharp enough to show effort and care. Some looked like stars, others like flowing rivers, and some like eyes that followed the viewer. They wanted to tell a story here, said Myra as she brushed away dust from one of the carvings. A story we cannot yet understand. Torin, the quietest of the group, looked around at the ruins and spoke in a low voice. A city this large means they were advanced. But where are they now? There are no bones, no tools, no signs of life. The question hung in the air like a shadow. No one answered. Each of them felt the weight of the silence. It was as if the planet itself was holding back a secret. As they walked through the plaza, small pieces of golden dust clung to their boots. The ground near the idol was brighter than the rest of the city, almost as if the light of the figure had seeped into the very soil. The air was dry, yet it carried a faint taste of metal. Ryan, still drawn to the idol, placed his hand near the surface but stopped short of touching it. He could feel warmth coming from the gold, though there was no clear source. He stepped back, uneasy but unable to look away. "It does not make sense," he said quietly. "Everything here is cold and dead, yet this thing feels alive." Myra placed a hand on his shoulder and gently moved him away. "We will not touch it until we know what it is. Curiosity is good, but care will keep us alive." The team set up their camp on the edge of the plaza. They placed scanners and instruments around the idol, recording every detail. As the machines worked, the humans sat together and shared quiet words. None of them admitted it, but each felt the same strange pull toward the golden figure. Night came slowly on this world. The sky darkened to a deep shade of violet, and stars filled the horizon. In the fading light, the idol did not lose its glow. Instead, it seemed brighter, as if it was not reflecting light but giving it. The humans watched in silence, caught between wonder and fear. As they prepared to rest, Torin spoke once more. We should remember one thing. A city does not die without reason. Whatever happened here may still matter. His words were met with nods, but no one spoke again. The wind whispered across the ruins. The golden idol stood tall, shining against the night, watching the humans who had come so far. The planet gave no answers, but the humans had already begun to feel that their discovery was more than simple treasure. It was the beginning of a story that had not yet finished, and they were now part of it. Morning came slowly on the ruined world. A pale sun rose above the broken towers, painting the golden idol with a light that made it shine like fire. The human team gathered near their camp, sharing food and quiet talk before starting another day of study. No one admitted it, but each of them had slept poorly. Dreams filled with strange shapes and endless halls had kept them restless through the night. Myra, their leader, gave clear instructions. Today we will focus on the carvings around the idol. They may tell us what happened here. We must learn the story before we decide what to do next. The others agreed. With scanners in hand, they walked slowly around the base of the idol. The carvings stretched across every side. Some showed figures kneeling before the golden form. Others showed lines of stars, as if the people once believed the idol had a connection to the heavens. Ryan leaned close to one carving, brushing away more dust with his gloved hand. The image showed a group of tall beings, their arms lifted toward the idol. In the next line of carvings, the same beings were smaller, weaker, and fewer in number. At the end of the story they were gone, leaving only the shining figure standing tall. He stepped back, his eyes wide. Look at this. It is like they vanished. One moment there are many, then fewer, then none. Only the idol remains. Myra studied the lines carefully. Her brow furrowed as she traced the marks with her eyes. It may be a warning. Or a memory. Either way, the message is clear. They built their city around this thing. They trusted it. But in the end, they disappeared. Turin, the quiet thinker of the group, placed his hand on one of the stones near the carving. It feels like a grave marker. Not for one person, but for a whole people. The words hung heavy in the air. The ruins seemed to echo his thought, as if the stones themselves agreed. The team continued their search. Near the plaza they found fragments of broken tablets, scattered among the dust. On some, faint symbols were still visible. Jalen, the team's engineer, used a small device to scan and project the symbols in clearer form. The shapes repeated often, almost like prayers written again and again. Myra watched the glowing projection and spoke softly. They were asking for something. Asking for safety. Asking for strength. Perhaps they thought the idol could give it. Ryan shook his head. If it gave them anything, it did not last. All that remains is this empty city. Still, his eyes kept turning back to the idol. Its golden surface glowed in the sunlight. No dust ever seemed to settle on it. It stood pure and untarnished, while everything else around it lay broken. He could not help but feel that it was not only an object but something more. As the day went on, the humans moved deeper into the ruins. They found halls where walls had collapsed but patterns of stars still shone faintly in the stone. They found wide roads leading to nothing, as if once filled with people but now forgotten. Every path seemed to lead back to the idol at the center, like rivers flowing toward the sea. Turin bent down to study the cracks in the streets. He found no signs of fire, no weapons, no marks of battle. They were not destroyed by war, he said slowly. Something else ended them. The team returned to the plaza in the late afternoon. The idol now stood in the shadow of the towers, yet it still gleamed as if light came from within. Jalen placed one of the scanners near its base. The device beeped softly and displayed strange readings. The idol gave off a faint energy, steady and quiet, like the beating of a heart. "This is not only metal," Jalen said with unease. "It is alive in some way. Not alive like us, but still active." A silence followed his words. The group exchanged uneasy glances. Myra stood firm. "We will not run from knowledge. If the idol is still active, then we must learn why. We owe it to those who lived here before us." As the sun lowered, shadows stretched across the plaza. The idol's glow seemed stronger in the dim light, as if it welcomed the coming of night. The team sat together at their camp, their faces lit by both the fire and the golden reflection. Ryan finally spoke what all had been thinking. "The carvings, the ruins, the silence. Everything points to one truth. The idol was not a gift. It was a curse." Torin nodded in agreement. "Yes. They believed it would protect them. But it took them instead." The fire crackled, but no one laughed, no one argued. The ruins were silent, and the idol seemed to listen. The air carried a weight, a quiet warning that this place was not empty but filled with the memory of lives lost. Myra closed her eyes for a moment before speaking. "We will continue tomorrow. But we must stay watchful. Whatever took the people of this world may not be finished." Her words carried through the night. Above them, the stars shone bright, but the humans kept looking back at the golden figure. It stood tall, unbroken, untouched by time. And though it said nothing, each of them felt the same thought pressing at the edge of their minds. The idol had seen the fall of one civilization. Now it stood waiting for another. The second night on the ruined world was colder than the first. Thin wind slid through the empty streets and whispered between broken towers. The human team sat close to their small fire, speaking little. Each of them felt the same heavy thought. The carvings, the ruins, the energy inside the idol, everything pointed toward a dark story. Ryan could not sleep. He walked to the edge of the plaza and stood before the idol. Its golden surface glowed faintly, brighter now than during the day. He placed his hand near it without touching, and again he felt warmth. It pulsed softly, like the rhythm of a heartbeat. He stepped back quickly. His chest felt tight, his thoughts scattered. For a moment he thought he heard voices whispering, not from his radio but from inside his mind. They were soft, almost like promises. He shook his head and forced himself to walk back to camp. Myra noticed his pale face. "You should rest," she said in a steady tone. "I tried," he answered. "But the idol does not want me to." Her eyes narrowed, but she said no more. Instead she looked at the golden figure, and for the first time, she too felt that it was not only stone and metal. It was aware. The next morning they set new instruments around the idol. Jalen's scanner beeped loudly, the screen flashing numbers that changed too fast to read. He frowned. "The energy level is rising. It is reacting to us." Torin placed his hand on the ground near the base. The stone was trembling, almost too faint to notice. "Something under us is waking," he said in a quiet voice. Before anyone could answer, the idol released a soft hum. The sound rolled through the plaza like a wave. Dust rose from the cracks in the streets. The broken towers groaned as if the city itself had taken a breath after long sleep. The humans froze in place. None of them moved, none of them spoke. Then the light came. The idol's surface shone brighter and brighter until it was painful to look at. From the base of the figure, golden lines spread across the plaza, crawling through the stone like veins of fire. The lines reached outward, connecting with broken machines hidden beneath the ruins. One by one, shapes buried under rubble began to stir. Jalen pointed with a shaking hand. Those are not statues. They are machines. The city itself was alive. The ground trembled harder. Small machines, no larger than hounds, crawled out from beneath the streets. Their bodies were made of black metal with faint golden lights running through them. They moved slowly at first, as if unsure after long ages of silence. Then, as the idol hummed again, they turned their glowing eyes toward the humans. Ryan's heart raced. They are watching us. The machines did not attack, not yet. They only formed a circle around the plaza, their heads tilted upward toward the idol as if in worship. The humans stood together, their weapons ready but their minds filled with confusion. Myra raised her voice, steady but firm. Do not fire unless they move against us. We must understand what this means. The idol's hum deepened. A wave of sound pushed against the humans, strong enough to shake their bones. Their radios filled with static. Their lights flickered. And then, inside each mind, came a vision. They saw the city alive as it once was. Tall beings with shining skin filled the streets, kneeling before the golden figure. The idol glowed even brighter than now, and in that glow the people smiled as if blessed. But slowly, their smiles faded. The beings grew thin and weak. One by one they collapsed, their bodies turning to dust while the idol burned brighter. The machines around them continued their watch, not helping, not caring. The vision ended, leaving the humans gasping for air. Sweat ran down their faces though the air was cold. Each of them knew the truth. The idol was not a symbol of faith. It was a device of hunger. Ryan spoke first, his voice shaking. It feeds on life. That is why they vanished. Torin nodded grimly. And now it has found new life to feed. The golden lines pulsed again, brighter this time. The machines moved closer, their circle tightening. The humans stepped back toward their camp, every muscle tense. Myra raised her hand, her voice strong despite the fear inside her. We are not like them. We will not kneel. The machines paused, as if the words had power. The idol's glow dimmed for a brief moment, then flared again, stronger than before. The hum rose higher, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Jalen shouted over the sound. If it keeps rising like this, it may try to take us the same way. We need to find the core, the source of its power. Myra looked at her team. Fear showed on every face, yet behind the fear there was determination. Then we will learn what it is hiding. But first, we must survive the night. The idol towered above them, its golden body alive with light. The machines stood in silence, waiting, guarding, watching. The humans tightened their circle around the fire, each of them aware that the ruins were no longer empty. The city had awakened, and the idol was hungry once more. The night grew long and restless. The humans stayed close to their fire, but the glow of the golden idol was brighter than any flame. Around the plaza, the machines stood like silent guardians, their golden eyes fixed on the team. No sound came from them, not even the faintest hum of gears. They waited, still and patient, as if time itself belonged to them. Myra kept her hand on her weapon, but she did not raise it. She knew that firing the first shot could be their last mistake. Her voice was steady when she spoke. We cannot let fear guide us. We must hold our ground until we learn what it wants. Ryan, sitting close to the fire, rubbed his temples. His thoughts were heavy, his vision blurred. He whispered, almost too soft to hear. "It is speaking to me." The others turned quickly. Torin leaned closer, his voice sharp. "What do you mean, speaking?" Ryan lifted his eyes. They shone faintly with golden light. "It shows me visions. A city filled with life again. Towers rebuilt, streets full of laughter. Riches beyond measure. If I go to it, all of this will come true." He started to rise, but Myra grabbed his arm and pulled him back with force. "Do not listen," she said firmly. "Those are lies. You saw what it did to the ones before us." Ryan trembled in her grip. For a moment he struggled, then he dropped back down beside the fire, breathing hard. The golden light in his eyes faded, leaving only fear. The idol's glow pulsed brighter, as if displeased. The machine stirred, taking a step closer before freezing again in place. Torin spoke in a low voice, his eyes on the golden figure. "It is testing us. It wants to know if we will kneel like the others did." The hum from the idol grew deeper, shaking the ground once more. This time, each of the humans felt the visions invade their minds. Myra saw herself standing on a new world, her people safe, her name remembered as a great leader. Jalen saw machines obeying his command, knowledge flowing into his hands, every secret of the universe revealed. Torin saw peace at last, a quiet life with no danger, no struggle, only calm. The visions were beautiful, but they carried a sharp edge. Each dream tempted them to give up the fight and step willingly into the light of the idol. Myra's jaw tightened. She pressed her palms against her eyes and shouted, "Stay together. Hear only my voice. The visions are false." Her words cut through the fog like a blade. The others clung to her voice, pulling themselves back from the edge of surrender. The golden glow inside their minds flickered and broke. The visions cracked like glass, leaving behind the dark ruins and the cold air of the plaza. The idol hummed again, louder now, as if angered. The machines stepped closer, forming a tighter circle. The humans rose to their feet, standing shoulder to shoulder. Jalen whispered, "It is not only a machine. It is a predator. It tempts its prey before it feeds." Myra nodded. "Then we must not become prey." The golden figure flared with sudden brilliance. The plaza was filled with blinding light. The machines advanced, their golden eyes burning. The humans backed toward their camp, their weapons raised, their hearts pounding. And then, as quickly as it began, the light dimmed. The machines froze again. The idol's hum softened to a steady beat, almost like a challenge. It had tested them and failed to break their will, but the test was not finished. Torin looked around the silent plaza and spoke carefully. "It wanted us to fall on our own. It wanted us to walk willingly into its arms. When we refused, it stopped." Myra kept her eyes on the golden figure. "It is waiting for the next chance. We must not give it that chance." The team gathered their strength. They checked their instruments, their scanners, and their weapons. Each of them carried the weight of what they had just faced. They had resisted once, but the idol had not given up. It would try again, and next time it might strike harder. As dawn touched the sky, the golden figure still glowed with quiet power. The machines stood frozen, but the humans knew they were not safe. They were being watched, judged, and tested. Myra stood tall, her voice steady despite the fear that lingered in her chest. "We know its trick now. It feeds on weakness. It thrives on surrender. But we are human. We do not bow to idols. We fight. The others nodded. Their fear had not vanished, but it had turned into something stronger. They had faced the idol's lies and survived. Now they carried a new strength, born not from the golden figure but from one another. The plaza grew quiet again, the machines still as statues, the idol shining against the morning light. Yet the humans knew the silence was only a pause. The golden idol had tested them once. Soon it would test them again. The sun rose slowly over the ruins, painting the city in pale gold. The idol still stood in the center of the plaza, glowing faintly as if the light of the sun belonged to it. Around it, the machines remained frozen, their golden eyes unblinking. To anyone else, the scene might have seemed calm, but the humans knew better. The silence was only the pause before the next storm. Myra stood with her team, her eyes fixed on the shining figure. "It wants us to give in," she said firmly. "It wants us to kneel. That is why it shows visions, why it tempts us. But we are not here to worship. We are here to endure." The others listened carefully. Their faces were tired, yet their eyes carried determination. Ryan still looked shaken from the night before, but he stood close to Myra, unwilling to let fear control him again. Torin kept scanning the ground, watching for new movement from the machines. Jalen checked his instruments again and again, though each reading told the same story: the idol was alive with energy. The morning passed with tense waiting. Every sound, the creak of stone, the whisper of wind, felt heavy. Then, as if to remind them of its power, the idol began to hum once more. The golden glow spread across the plaza, filling the cracks between the stones. The machines stirred, their heads lifting toward the humans. This time the visions came faster, sharper, harder to resist. Ryan saw himself walking into the glow, his arms full of treasure that shone brighter than the stars. Jalen saw himself commanding endless armies of machines, bending them to his will. Torin saw quiet fields and endless rest. Myra saw her people safe, her name carved into history. But Myra was ready. She shouted above the hum, her voice strong and clear. "Listen to me. Hold on to my voice. Do not listen to the idol. Hear only one another." Her words cut through the fog in their minds. The humans turned their eyes to each other, not the golden glow. They spoke in quick bursts, calling names, sharing simple words. "Ryan, stay with us. Torin, you are here, not there. Myra, we hear you." Each voice was a chain that held them together. The visions cracked like mirrors, and the false promises faded. The idol pushed harder, its glow burning brighter, its hum shaking the air, but the humans pushed back with trust, with unity, with the bond that no machine could copy. Finally, the golden glow dimmed, the hum softened, and the machines froze again. The test had failed. The humans had resisted. Ryan fell to his knees, breathing heavily. "It tried to take me again," he whispered. "But your voices pulled me back." Myra helped him to his feet. "That is the strength it cannot break. We fight for one another, not for false promises. That is what makes us human." For a moment, the plaza was quiet again. The idol still glowed, but its light seemed less powerful, less sure. Torin studied the carvings at the base of the figure once more. "The people before us had brilliance," he said. "They built towers, machines, cities. But they trusted this idol more than they trusted each other. That is why they fell. They gave their strength away." Myra nodded. "And that is why we will not fall. We are stronger together than anything it can show us." The humans began to plan. They marked the ground around the idol, studying the golden lines that pulsed like veins. Jalen used his tools to trace the energy back to a central point inside the figure. "There is a core," he said with certainty. "It is the heart of the idol. If we can reach it, we may be able to shut it down." Myra looked at the shining figure. The idea of striking at its heart was dangerous, but she knew it was their only path forward. "Then we will prepare. But we cannot face it with fear. We must face it with unity." That night, the team sat together in a tight circle. They did not sleep but kept watch, telling small stories to one another, sharing laughter even in the shadow of the golden glow. The idol hummed at times, sending faint whispers into their minds, but each time they answered with their own voices, louder and stronger. By the time the stars filled the sky, each of them understood something clear. The idol might be powerful, but it had no heart, no bond, no trust. Humans carried those things, and that was their greatest weapon. As the night stretched on, Myra whispered to her team, "We are not the same as those who came before. We will not kneel. We will not fade. We will fight, and we will win." The golden idol glowed against the dark sky, but for the first time, it seemed less like a god and more like a challenge waiting to be broken. The humans were ready. The third morning on the ruined world arrived with a heavy silence. The sun rose over broken towers, casting long shadows across the plaza. The golden idol still stood tall, glowing faintly as if the light of the sun belonged to it. Around the base, the machines remained still, frozen in their circle. Yet the humans knew the peace was not real. The idol was waiting, patient as stone, watching them with unseen eyes. Myra gathered her team close. Her voice was steady, though her heart carried weight. "We know the truth now. The idol feeds on life. It tempts, it deceives, it takes. If we leave it standing, one day others may come, and it will take them too. We must end it." The others nodded. Ryan's face was pale but firm. Torin's eyes were sharp with quiet resolve. Jalen carried his tools with care, already thinking of the task ahead. They began their work at once. Jalen traced the golden lines that spread from the idol into the plaza. Each line pulsed faintly, carrying energy inward toward the figure. "These are conduits," he explained. "They lead to a central core inside the idol. If we overload it, the system may collapse." Myra frowned. "How much energy will it take?" "More than this city can provide," Jalen answered. "But our ship can supply enough. We can channel its power directly into the idol. If we push it beyond its limit, the core will break." The plan was dangerous. To connect the ship's reactor to the idol meant working close to the figure, close to its power. One mistake, and the energy might consume them instead. But there was no other choice. The humans moved quickly. They carried heavy cables from their ship and laid them across the plaza. Jalen worked at the base of the idol, attaching the lines to its golden surface. As his hands brushed the glowing metal, he felt a strange warmth, like the touch of something alive. He pulled back sharply, his breath unsteady. Ryan helped him steady the cables. "Do not look at it," he said softly. "If you look too long, it will try to take you." Together they worked, step by step, until the cables were ready. The ship's reactor hummed in the distance, its energy waiting to be unleashed. But the idol did not remain silent. As the humans prepared, its glow grew stronger. The hum rose, shaking the air and the ground. The machines stirred, their golden eyes burning bright. Slowly, they began to move, stepping forward in unison. Myra raised her weapon, her voice sharp. Hold your ground. The humans stood in a tight circle, their backs to the cables, their eyes on the advancing machines. The idol's light flared again, and once more the visions came. Riches. Power. Peace. Each vision cut into their minds like blades of light, urging them to surrender. Myra shouted above the storm. Do not listen. Hear only one another. Remember who we are. Her words anchored them. Ryan called Myra's name, Torin called Jalen's, Jalen called Ryan's. Their voices rose, linking them together like chains of iron. The visions cracked and faded, leaving only the cold truth of the plaza. The machines paused, their steps slowing, as if the idol's power weakened in the face of human unity. Now, Jalen cried. He ran to the ship and activated the flow of energy. The cables shook with force, glowing as the reactor poured its power into the idol. The golden figure trembled. Its glow turned fierce, blinding in its brightness. The hum rose into a scream that tore through the ruins. The ground split, and dust filled the air. The machines collapsed one by one, their golden eyes fading. The plaza shook as if the whole city cried out. Inside the idol, the core burned with furious light. It pulsed, then faltered, then pulsed again. Jalen shouted over the roar. It is working. The system is breaking. But the idol fought back. Its glow surged outward, striking against the humans like waves of fire. Ryan stumbled, nearly falling into the light, but Myra caught his arm and pulled him back. Hold on, she cried. We are almost there. The glow grew wilder, flashing like a storm. Cracks split across the golden surface. Pieces fell away, burning as they struck the ground. The hum turned into a broken rhythm, no longer steady but weak, unbalanced. Finally, with a sound like thunder, the core shattered. A wave of golden dust burst outward, sweeping across the plaza. The light faded at last, leaving only silence. The idol, once tall and shining, collapsed into a broken shell. Its surface, once untarnished, now lay cracked and dark. The golden lines across the plaza dimmed and died. The machines that had circled the humans lay lifeless, their forms nothing more than empty shells. For the first time since they had arrived, the city felt truly silent. No hum, no visions, no golden glow. Only ruins, broken and still. The humans stood together, their faces covered with dust, their hearts heavy but strong. They had faced the idol and broken its curse. Ryan spoke first, his voice quiet. It is over. Myra looked at the fallen figure. Yes. But we must remember what it tried to do. We must remember the ones who came before, who gave their lives to this thing. We will not let their story be forgotten. The team gathered their tools and returned to their ship. Behind them, the golden idol lay broken, its power gone forever. The ruins stood silent, holding their secrets in stone. For the first time in ages, the city belonged to no one, not even the idol. The curse was broken. The sun rose slowly over the ruined city, casting long shadows across the broken towers. The golden idol lay shattered in the center of the plaza, its light gone forever. The machines that had guarded it for centuries were lifeless, scattered across the streets. The humans stood together, looking at what they had accomplished, feeling both relief and awe. Myra took a deep breath and looked at her team. We did it, she said softly. We faced the idol and we survived. We stopped it from taking more lives. We have a chance to tell the story. Ryan stepped forward, brushing dust from his uniform. His hands were still trembling, but his eyes shone with determination. It was not just power or knowledge that saved us. It was trust. We trusted each other. We stayed together when it tried to tear us apart. That is what it could not break. Torin walked around the plaza, studying the ruins one last time. This city was beautiful once. The people who lived here had brilliance, machines, towers, and knowledge beyond our own. But they failed because they did not protect one another. That is the lesson the idol tried to hide. Jalen nodded, holding his tools close. We have to make sure that no one else falls the same way. That is why we record everything. The story of the idol, the machines, the city, and what it took from those who came before. Myra looked at the broken figure of the idol. Though its golden surface was fractured, it still gleamed faintly in the sunlight. It is tempting, she said quietly, to think that power alone is enough. But the real strength comes from what makes us human: our bond, our courage, and our will to survive. The team moved through the plaza, gathering pieces of the idol that were still intact. They examined the golden fragments carefully, taking samples for study. Each piece was a reminder of the danger they had faced and the victory they had earned. Ryan held a fragment in his hand, turning it over slowly. This was once worshipped, he said. People believed it could protect them. But it could not. Only their own choices could save them. And we made the right choices. Torin nodded. We are proof that unity and courage are stronger than any machine, any idol, any temptation. That is why humans can survive where others failed. Myra gathered her team near the edge of the plaza. We came here seeking knowledge, she said. We found more than that. We found the truth about what it means to be human. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. But together, we are unstoppable. The wind swept across the ruins, carrying dust and fragments of stone. The city was silent now, as if it had finally given its secrets to the humans and then rested. The golden idol, once a symbol of hunger and power, lay broken, harmless. The team returned to their ship. As they prepared to leave, Myra looked back at the city one last time. We will tell this story, she said. We will make sure the people who came before are remembered. And we will take their lesson with us. Strength is not in idols or machines. It is in our hearts, in our unity, in our courage. Ryan joined her at the ship's entrance. I will remember this forever, he said. The idol may be gone, but its lesson is alive. Torin placed a hand on the ship's hull. And our story will inspire others. We will show that humans can face any challenge, even when it seems impossible. The engines of the ship hummed to life. Slowly, the craft lifted into the sky, leaving the ruins behind. From above, the city looked small, its towers broken, its streets empty. But in the hearts of the humans, it carried a lesson bigger than any building, stronger than any idol, and brighter than any star. As the ship moved through the sky, Myra spoke once more. We are humans. We face danger, we face fear, and we survive. We carry hope, courage, and unity. That is our legacy. That is our power. The team fell silent, watching the ruins fade beneath them. Each of them knew that the journey had changed them. They had faced an ancient power, resisted temptation, and overcome a force that had destroyed an entire civilization. They had proven that humans were different. Humans were strong. Above the world, the stars shone bright. The golden idol was no more, but its story had ended not in death but in victory. And the humans carried that victory forward, leaving a mark not in stone or gold, but in the truth of their courage, their unity, and their humanity. The ship disappeared into the horizon, carrying the humans and their story to new worlds. Behind them, the ruined city remained, silent and empty, a place where an ancient power had once ruled. But no longer. Now it was a place of memory, a place of lesson, a place where humans had shown that even the greatest danger could be faced and overcome. And so, the legacy of the humans began. Not with idols or machines, but with courage, trust, and the unbreakable bond between those who refused to surrender. The stars stretched endlessly above, and in their light, the humans continued their journey, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead.